Okay, you tell me when you're ready.
We are just recording, so good evening, everyone. Today is December 2nd, Wednesday, 2020, and welcome to our meeting of Central Jersey Electric Auto Association. This is last meeting in 2020, and we have two speakers lined up. This is our agenda. We will have Ron Grosinger, Mr.G's workshop, followed by Matthew Foley, Sunlight Conversions. Both guys are going to talk about their do-it-yourself electric conversions. Matthew will focus on boats. After that, we'll have some chapter report. I'll say some news. And then we'll go through upcoming virtual events. Most importantly, we have RideWise virtual event tomorrow, as well as some additional webinars and recordings of very interesting previous webinars. I would like to discuss possibility of Christmas light drive-through. As an example,
What is that? What's a
Delaware,
Christmas light drive-through?
Well, all holiday lights. We'll go through that.
Okay.
Discounts for members that were procured by Ira Gross and Andy Siamsu. We'll talk about the 2020 in the review and etc. So without further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker, Ron Grosinger. And I think, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Oh yeah, that's good. That'll work. Yeah, Grosinger, sure.
Grosinger.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So the Electric Vehicle Association, as I was telling them when we first got the meeting going, I go way back with the Electric Vehicle Association. The way I learned about how to convert cars from gas to electric was through a class in San Diego. And the person who taught the class was part of the San Diego Electric Vehicle Association chapter. And he was so dedicated that he got a tattoo of the logo for your association. So it's actually like,
you should have a picture of that.
Yeah. Okay. I do have a picture. I do. I'm going to share my screen right now. I do have a picture of that. This is, let's see, screen 2. Oh, I see. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So let's see. Oops, it's already presenting. Okay. Can you see these photos?
Yes.
Okay. So that would be right here. I have the presentation ready, but I didn't have this photo of the. Okay, here we go. It's right here. Okay, so take a look right here. See this guy right here? This is Abram Corvetto. He's still in San Diego, and if you could see, it's kind of hard to see, but right there is a tattoo of the little mouse, the car with the tail. So he's super dedicated, and this was the class. This was the class. We were about 25 people. That's me over there, and I look a little frustrated there, and I'll tell you why, because he was having us sing a song about getting rid of gas. Yeah, it was terrible. It was a song about getting rid of gasoline, and we already sang the song, and then he wanted us to sing it again, and I was like, come on, man. And, I think I was tired, or maybe I didn't have lunch or something, but it was a nice song, and everybody got along, and I still talk to about 4 people from this class now, and it's just amazing, So that was 12 years ago, and and then since then, I took some of the things we learned. Like, here's an example right here. This is the original transmission. Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Okay, this is the original transmission. We made brackets and we installed a DC motor. And we put the batteries on top, but we made it all removable. That's a key thing you have to think about, because you might upgrade later, or you might have to do some servicing. You definitely want to make it serviceable. You don't want to weld right to the chassis. That's an amateur move. You definitely want to weld your brackets, but then bolt it to the chassis. And that's something I tell people all the time. So, and here was the bracket that we made that carried the batteries on top of the motor. It was a precarious setup because, you know, Volkswagen, you got to think, you're working with Volkswagen and you're working with just a DIY shop, your brain, some drawing ideas, and you're coming up with ideas of how to fit everything. Now, before I get ahead of myself, I should probably talk to you about the basics. And obviously we did some cameo shots, like when we had the engine out, we would stand in the engine bay and all kinds of stuff. Oh, there's someone trying to get in the room. Let's admit Alex. Okay.
Thank you. I should be watching.
Yeah. So now do they pop in? Can you see them? Oh, there we go. There are more people here. Perfect. Okay. So let me go to the presentation and I'll present. So hold on a second. This is not the one. I'm sorry. Hold on. Oh, yes. This is it. Yeah, this is it. Sorry about that. Okay. So what you have here is, you know, I'm a high school auto shop teacher and metal shop. And so when I first learned about this, I had to present this to, you know, the students and faculty in order to get this project approved. Because once I learned about it in San Diego, 2008, 2009, I did the project with students at the high school. So the first question everybody says to me, you know, asks me is, what is an electric conversion? And the thing is basically any gasoline car, you know, that has its engine and all associated parts replaced with an electric motor, a speed controller, and batteries. It's really just three main components. Obviously, there's a charger involved. And to convert a gasoline car, you would start by removing the gasoline engine. I know this seems simple, but I don't know where everybody's at, so I'm making it very broad, okay? You would remove the gasoline engine. You would add an electric motor. You're going to need an adapter plate to get in between. You're going to need a controller, which is right here. And then you're going to need batteries. So literally, it's literally minus the engine, literally just a motor plus battery, plus a controller, plus batteries equals an electric car. And I know that's very simple, but that is literally what's going on. Now, how you connect all these parts, that's the hard part. That's where you need welding, metal fabrication. You might need some CNC or machining because you need to get some adapters. Now, some of this stuff you can buy, okay, and we'll get to that. This is just some coverage of, you know, we could skip over this. This is an old news article about what we did. And this was the shop that we learned when we were converting the cars. Some of this I'm going to run through. This is us just sitting there taking notes. That's me over there. Tom was going over the electrics. There's some fail safes that you have to worry about, but you know, basically that was the class. So then I took all that knowledge and I brought it to the students. That girl there is like 15 at the time, is 15 years old, and she did, believe it or not, she did a lot of the wiring. And then that's us pulling the engine out. Literally, it's like get the chains hanging from the hoist and just.
What car it used to be?
Oh, okay, that was a 1990 Volkswagen Rabbit.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, and that's
so it's cabrio.
Yeah, and that's a good candidate because it's lightweight and relatively safe, and you can pick them up for relatively cheap. We only paid $750 for this, and I drove it. It drove great.
And I also see that you removed the tank, right?
Yep.
Which you didn't mention before, but I suppose that you can also use the space for batteries.
100% right. We did not use the space, but you don't need this, so you might as well get rid of it. Anything associated with the gas engine, the radiator, the exhaust manifold, the catalytic converter, the muffler, the pipes, the hangers, everything associated with that is now your space. You now have that to do what you want with it. And I know that Matt, you know, he's done a lot of this stuff as well. And I'm sure he's taken advantage of the empty space once something is out, you know. Now, as far as wiring goes, it seems confusing, but believe it or not, if you just lay this out on a chalkboard and you follow the steps, there is a simple pattern that has to do with fail-safe. So it's like an if-then statement, for instance. And I'm not going to go too deep into the electrics because you just got to know that it's all logical. All right. If you're plugged into the wall and you're charging, you should not be able to drive away. I know that sounds funny, but that's called a charger interlock. And there's a relay set up for that. Same thing like, you know, if you don't put the car, you know, if the car's in drive and you go to start it, it's not going to start. You know, that's kind of like an old automatic transmission idea, you know. So there's safety protocols that you should put into the car when you're building it, okay? Let's see. Now, the wiring looks like a big mess, but if you just stay organized and you label everything, you're going to be fine. And if you could see here, what you're looking at is electric motor with an adapter plate hooked up to the original transmission. You're going to keep the transmission, most likely. Okay, most likely. There are situations. The Tesla has one gear. Why? Right? That's got to be someone's question. Someone's got to be thinking, why would it have...
Well, you have DC motor here, right?
That's true. But even if I had an AC motor, unless I've got an AC motor that's the size of a Tesla AC motor with a Tesla battery pack size, I can't get away with, I can't toss the transmission. Here's why. Everybody here has ridden a bicycle before, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How do I expand this? Oh, perfect. That's much better. I'm going to expand this so I could see everybody. Okay. So if you're riding a bicycle, you know that when you put it in first gear, it's super easy. But there's a limit to your legs going up and down. So it's easy, but there's an RPM limit. Okay? So what do? You switch gears. You go to the higher gear. Now it's hard, right? But you're slower. Okay? Now, same thing with a gas car and same thing with an electric car. Okay? You're going to put it in first gear because it's easy, but then there's a limit. So you have to switch to get to that next step. The reason Tesla only has one gear is because the limit is higher. The RPM is a lot higher, like 16,000 RPM, and the size of the leg is bigger. So you only need a high gear. It's like driving the car in fifth gear all the time. That's not possible unless you've got a leg, like a huge leg, and your legs can go really fast. So that's why the only reason to have gears is because of power and the RPM limit. I don't know if that makes sense, but just think about a bicycle.
Sounds like a torque would be an issue then for most of these cars if you took out the transmission, because it might break the...
Yes, that's what I was about to say. But it's not just Tesla that has one gear. Pretty much all manufacturing vehicle electric cars have single gear other than Taycan.
Well, so because now what's happening is that you're looking at the result of Tesla setting the bar high, right? Like, okay, but before that, Tesla originally had two gears and all the conversions used the original transmission. And then when they got into the ability to have such a large pack and have such a large motor, then they got into high torque, and then you're allowed to use one gear, but that one gear had better be tough. In fact, the story I heard is that they kept breaking transmissions, and then Borg Warner, which is a massive transmission manufacturer, they heard about it, and they made a prototype for Tesla, and they said, hey, Tesla, don't hurt yourself. We'll make the transmission. You know, like, take it easy. Because, you know, you got to go to the experts. All right. So moving forward, some of the bracketry and some of your components are going to have a custom enclosure. So you can use what I call CAD, right? Cardboard aided design. All right. So, and you know, you might want to put that into a program, and then you see the one on the left was handmade, and the one on the right, we sent the file to a manufacturer, and they did a donation to the school, and they just made it for us. So you want to put your stuff in an enclosure to protect it from the weather and elements and whatnot. So this is the install happening, and this is the batteries that are going in the front. We made a like a bracket battery rack. This is us taking it out, getting some press. These are the kids that worked on it. They are no longer kids. These kids probably have kids now. Okay. So, and then around 2015, we finished it 2009. Around 2015, we did resurrecting. We kind of took all the batteries out. Believe it or not, the batteries actually cracked. We sealed them, refilled them, charged them, refreshed it. You know, there's all the acid and whatnot. And we did like a nice refresh. Okay. And then we put it all back together. And then the local college asked me to be a mentor over there. So I brought it to the college so they could look at it. This is it at a show, Bergen Community College in Paramus. We went to an environmental show. Believe it or not, this guy was an early Tesla investor. He's probably in your association.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, you know him?
It's Michael Thwaite right there.
Ah, okay. No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we met him at this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell him I said hi. Actually, get me in touch with him if you can. Yeah. So, so he was cool. He was showing us around. And then this is my former student and now a friend. He was giving a tour. The car, the school was so excited about this. This is a good project to have at a school because it brings excitement. Look at all these kids freaking out. And what's wild is that years later, they remember this. We brought the car, and what's nice is because it's electric, you can bring it inside into a lobby, right? So there it is in the lobby. We also went to the River Edge Car Show, and they put it right on the lawn. That's us presenting it. And actually, and I brought it to the World Maker Faire 2015. Maker Faire had some finance problems. They're not, I don't know if they're around anymore. But anyway, we won an award. This guy was super popular at the time. So he stopped by and we took a photo. So moving on, any questions about that so far? Okay. Now I'm going to go a little faster through this. This is the truck we started to do at the college. And we made our own coupler. We made our own parts. We machined stuff. It was more of a metal fabrication, and we did engine turning. There's your coupler in there. This is your adapter plate. This is what an adapter plate kind of looks like. This is a bracket we custom made. We welded it up and we put it in there. This has the original engine mounts and stuff like that. So that's basically the overview of that. The only other thing I wanted to show you was I recently bought a Fiero. Hold on a second. Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is my segue. This is my segue. Let me make sure I've got this the photos ready to go. And then I thought it was ready, sorry. And then I'm going to, let me see, where is it? Okay, hold on. Oh, here we go. There we go, okay. So you got to think to yourself, well, it's pretty expensive to do this car. So you're talking, it's a commitment. I would say don't do this unless you really love the vehicle or you love the process. Okay, or you're trying to learn, or it's a demonstration vehicle of some kind. So I wasn't ready to commit to my own vehicle, so I bought someone else's. Now, believe it or not, this car has $25,000 worth of equipment, like batteries, motor, speed controller, lots of odds and ends. And believe it or not, this car went for sale on eBay for, here you go. I paid $1,800. And why is that? Because the guy let it sit. He let the main 12-volt battery die, and I scooped it up. I cleaned it up. I got it back on the road, and I made some videos about it. I tested some things, and I got to tell you, you could do that. You don't have to build your own. You could modify. And this thing was well cared for, except for, letting it sit for about probably 6 months. But the inside is super nice. Can you guys see this video?
Super lucky.
You may not have it optimized for video. The sound is off.
I turned the sound off, but you can see that it's in good shape,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's basically it. But the lesson is that
which model year is the vehicle, original vehicle?
1988. 1988.
Yeah, it looks like the age, yeah.
Yeah. So what I would say to you is that you got to start somewhere. And what I would say is you don't have to start at the beginning. You could start with something already built, or something else that Matt and I have done is that we've done some classes. We did 2 classes. They were crash course, 6-hour class, where you come to the class and we teach you all the critical parts, like the relays, how to measure, what to look for, how to make a battery pack, and we kind of go over the whole thing. It's not going to give you everything you need, but it's definitely going to give you a good taste of what it's like to go through this. We also talk about suppliers. I like EV West. However, you could source your own stuff, right? Okay, so that's basically
EV West is very well established, and I remember you told me that they have the kit for the old Beetle. The problem is that it's so difficult to get old Beetle. Very difficult.
Yeah. What you could do, you could get maybe like a variation of the Beetle. Maybe a Carmagia, maybe a sand rail, although there's nowhere to put the batteries. You could get a bus, it's not easy, but or a kit car of some kind. But the idea is that would be the simplest starting point.
And I assume that if you take the new Beetle that was built in 2000 something, that you cannot use the kit, right? Because
no. So anything that has a motor that's transversely mounted, in other words, if you're standing at the front of the car, it's facing this way, not the length of the car, it's going side to side. Those are okay, but then just remember, it's going to be a tight fit, and you're going to need to build a bracket to one side. So there's some customization going on. Once you get into that, then you're talking about you got to do some metal fabrication, or you got to get somebody to do it. Don't be wrong. If you love your project, you're going to get it done. And a pickup truck is probably, I would say, next easiest, because there's so much space to work with, but not a big one. That's the other thing, is you got to do something small, because the bigger you go, the more battery you're going to need to make it like an acceptable vehicle. And then later on, you got to think about public charging, and you got to think about drivability. What if someone else gets in the car that's not you? It's got to be safe. And also, one other piece of advice I always give somebody is that, people get excited and they'll see like an old MG on the side of the road, and it looks like Swiss cheese. There's rust everywhere. And they like fall in love. And they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I used to do the same thing. I would fall in love with some piece of garbage car on the side of the road, chill, relax. You got to put that in check, because if that car is not on the road, then you're going to have to do the brakes. You're going to have to do the handbrake. You're going to have to do the drivetrain. You're going to have to do the motor mount. You're going to replace everything, the water seals, everything. That's fine, but you got to love it then. So that's my advice, is that you want to start with a vehicle that actually works. Yeah. Okay.
And I also assume that the creature controls probably are not part of any consideration, like air conditioning, heating, right?
Great question. This vehicle, the Fiero, believe it or not, they put an electric heater in there, but there's no AC and there's no power steering. So it's
and power steering, of course.
Right. Now, I don't mind, but if you're building it and you're trying to match a production car, yes, you're going to, they have solutions. They have solutions. Just keep in mind, it's interesting because a lot of people that want to do conversions might not come from the hot rod industry. So you're like, let's say you might come from the computer industry, or you might come from a non-automotive background, and then you're interested in the environment. So you want to do this, but don't be fooled. Once you start customizing as a car, you are a hot rodder. Fact, you are a hot rodder. You are a grease monkey. That's great though. Embrace it, because guess what? They all did the work for you. Go on JEGs, go on any performance industry. They all built solutions for this. Aftermarket power steering, aftermarket air conditioning, aftermarket heaters. Everything is done for you. So embrace the grease monkey inside of you.
Fantastic.
Okay? It's in your DNA, I promise. Okay, and don't be afraid of the gasoline. It's just a step. It was like that's our training ground, and now we're doing electric. You know, I was working with Zach and Jesse on a MG, and we got this car, and it was a gas car, and I went out and drove it. And I was having the best time. It's so loud and obnoxious, and I was like, yeah, nah, you know. And they're like, oh, I don't want to drive it. I was like, but you can learn from it. Like, don't be afraid of the gasoline. Of course, we're gonna get rid of the gasoline. Of course. But just enjoy yourself, you know. And the people that build these cars and customize these cars, those people have the skills to do the conversion. They just don't want to. So you have the motivation, and they have the skills, and you need to okay. Does that make sense?
Cool. Yes.
All right.
Listen,
all right.
Do we have more questions from the audience?
I noticed you're using lead acid batteries. I imagine in 2007, 2008, that's what you had. Are you trying to do them now with the lithium ions, or?
No, I would never use them now. That 2008, 2009, that was the best we could do. Right after that, literally like 2010, 2011, 2012, that's when China started importing, and I would never go back.
Exporting, you want to say?
Yes, exporting. I would never go back. Lead acid is horrible.
So what batteries do you use then? And where do you get them?
Well, that's a tough question because, and Matt is probably more of an expert in that area than I am, but you could go to multiple sources. So there's recycled batteries. So in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, there's a place called
Battery Hookup. Yes.
Yep. Tom is
that's my place.
Very nice guy. Excellent. Oh, I'm going to let Timothy in. Admit. Very nice guy. And but the problem is you got to know what you're looking at first. Okay. So there's different styles, and you know, Matt, it could take you down that route.
They have BMW batteries. They have Mercedes batteries, and they don't have and they have modern batteries, right? So you have those 18650. If you want to build larger pack from those, that's a project. I'm actually doing small battery banks for a lawnmower and for my computer and stuff. But
and I applaud that. I applaud that because that's the way to start. Believe it or not, I know it sounds like it. You know, it's almost like a hit to the ego. Like, oh, I don't want to do a lawnmower. Trust me, do the lawnmower. Learn about the process. Learn the batteries, learn the suppliers, learn the controllers, learn how to put the wires, what size wire, what type of controller, what you expect out of it. Can you get a good quality finish? You know, so believe it or not, get started with something small, lawnmower. You know, Matt has a Vespa that's got Tesla battery cells, and it hauls ass. You know, it's amazing. You know, so okay, yeah. Any other questions? I'm sure you come up. I'm sure you come up with more. Let's let Matt.
You know, before we go to Matt, I just want to make sure that those who are watching the recording, they have a way of contacting you. Do you have a slide, or you know, when you want to show your contact information?
Absolutely. Let me pull it up. Go back onto the wall, bro. So let's see. I'll just put it on my screen here.
Share it. Yes.
Yep. Okay. So I call the business Mr. G's Workshop. Basically, my day job is I'm a high school auto shop teacher, but on the side, I teach about electric cars. I also teach welding. I do a crash course in welding. I do a crash course in how lawnmowers work. And you can do it. We can also do it through virtual. I've been teaching,
Okay.
believe it or not.
So you have a website, rongrosinger.com.
Yes, that's it. And believe it or not, you can actually, we go through the whole process of how engines work, which is a great basis for understanding how the cars work. And you just click on, let's say, for instance, electric conversion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll let you go. Yeah. But basically I have a video there and all the information that you'd possibly want. Yep.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you, Ron.
No problem.
Thank you. It was
I'll
wonderful.
stick around till about 7:45.
Okay, good.
Okay. Oh, I'll stop sharing. Sorry. And also, I really appreciate you guys having me. I think it's great what you guys are doing.
It's our pleasure.
Okay.
Okay, I'm up.
Yeah.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, my name is Matt from Sunlight Conversions. I'm the owner. I've been doing it about, I guess, 3-4 years. My background was high-end audio, video, commercial lighting, home automation. Did that for probably 18 years or so, and I decided that was enough. I've always been into renewable energy and EVs. I knew that was going to be a thing a long time ago. I just didn't know how to get into it. So the first thing I did was I quit my job, which was the best thing you could ever do. And then I had a sailboat. I've been a sailor for a while. And they said, you know what, let me start with my boat. So I ripped the diesel out and put an electric motor in. And that's how it started. So we do boat conversions, cars, scooters, golf carts, anything really. So now even our house is a kind of a proof of concept house. It's 100% electric. We ripped out the gas lines with a heat pump, induction oven or stovetop. And we produce twice the amount of energy we use over the course of a year. And that includes charging our car.
Cool. So this is pretty much, you are already compliant with the New Jersey Energy Master Plan 8050.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what that is, but I'm pretty sure we're past
I tell you, that's what you do.
So it's so that the house is just a regular house. It's not a super insulated, custom built house. It's any house, just like any house on the block.
Well, if you get insulation, then you get the efficiency even further.
We did do spray foam in the attic, but the house, it was built like 1930s. It's super leaky. It's not even anywhere close to a decently built house right now. We have trees, there's shade. Most of our roof doesn't face south, so it doesn't have much going for it. But the idea was to see if you can power your entire life from your roof, and we can. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, so back to boats. Let's see. I don't really have a presentation. I do have a few pictures I can show you guys.
Pictures are a million words.
So let's see. And it's my first time Zooming, so bear with me.
I can vouch for Matt. He's a good guy. Yeah, he's super smart. Does a lot of hands-on, and he's got a great, some great ideas and cool projects. So I'll just give him a second while he's doing it. Go ahead. I'm not interrupting you. Just helping you out.
You guys see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so this is just my Instagram page. I got a few pictures on it.
And Matt has also YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, I need some work, but I'm getting there. So let's see.
Or maybe what I've seen, the videos are actually on Ron's YouTube channel.
Yeah, Ron has a lot of
includes that includes yours, your project. The boat was included, I know.
So that's my boat there. Not a great picture. It's O'Day 31, 1984. Another shot of it there. Let's see. Oh, I'll get to that later. Come on. How do I get back to here?
So this is your page on Instagram, I guess.
Instagram page. Yep.
Right.
So here is where the motor or engine used to be. It used to be a 18 horsepower diesel, and it's replaced with a 7.5 kilowatt DC motor. And I'm going direct drive here, so I don't have any gears. So it's literally just the motor straight out to the shaft and the prop. So let's see. So boats are, it's all the same exact components that Rob mentioned, which is pretty cool. It's anything electric. It's batteries, a motor, and a controller. That's pretty much all you need. Boats, so in a car, you need a lot of power to accelerate. But then once you get up to speed, you don't need as much power. But boats are completely different. You always need constant power. And it's roughly for a displacement boat, which was kind of like a typical sailboat, was a displacement hull. For every knot you go faster, it takes twice the amount of power. So that adds up real quick. It doesn't take much power to move a boat slow. So if you're going, let's say 2 knots, you could do that for maybe 300 watts.
For our surface people, how does it translate to miles per hour, let's say?
A knot is like 1.2 miles per hour. It's just slightly faster. So now to go 3 knots, you double it, you're at 600 watts. 4 knots, 1200, and it goes up real quick.
So it's pretty much walking speed that is
yes,
efficient.
So sailboats are slow. Any boat up to, let's say, 40 feet, the fastest you're ever really going to go is maybe 7.23 knots. Sailboats are not fast, if you guys have ever been on one. I mean, unless it's like a crazy racing boat. Those things are pretty crazy. Catamarans can go a little faster. They're kind of a semi-displacement hull, you'd call it. So that's kind of one of the reasons why electric propulsion is great on sailboats, because they're not going fast. Energy density in batteries isn't quite there to make like a power boat practical. So diesel fuel holds 60 times the amount of energy as the same size and weight of a battery. So we're nowhere close to it. Electric motors make up for it a little bit because they're so much more efficient. So it's going to be, you know, a few years before you can really do a boat without any compromises. Right now, it's a compromise. So let's say a typical sailboat, let's say my sailboat has a 20-gallon tank, had a 20-gallon tank. You could do 200 miles on it. Now with a full charge, I could do a cruising speed, you know, maybe 25 miles. Like it's not even close. But there's a lot of things that electric boat can do that diesel boats can't. So my boat is 100% solar powered. I'm on a mooring, so I can't plug it in even if I wanted to. So I have 400 watts of solar, and that pretty much is all I ever need. So when you think about how you typically use a boat, you use it on the weekends, and then you go away for the week and you come back. So over those 5 days, if I completely drain my batteries, which I never have, as long as it's a sunny week, it would be full. A typical weekend day, maybe you use 10% of your battery. that'll be back. If it's a sunny day, that'll be back on the next day. So it's pretty cool. You pretty much always arrive to a fully charged boat, just ready to go. You just turn the key and go.
If you have only the 400 watt solar panel and lots of sunshine, would the motor bother to spin at all?
Meaning, can you just go directly from solar?
Well, yeah, whether you would have some non-zero speed.
Yeah, so I could do with 400 watts coming in, I could do maybe 2.5 knots. I mean, that's only, it's the middle of the day. So it's not super practical to really.
2.5 knots on 400 watts?
Yeah, something like that.
What is your typical cruising speed when you run on battery?
So typically what you try to do with electric motor, so it's the same as with diesel. It takes a ton of power to go to hull speed. So the hull speed of my boat is about 6.2 knots. Mm-hmm. But even with the diesel engine, to go 6.2 knots, you have to floor it. And it's crazy loud. You burn through fuel like you just never would do it. So typically about 90% of hull speed is what you would consider your cruising speed. Mm-hmm. So that's, I don't know, 5.4 knots or something.
Okay.
That's typically what I try to do.
So that's actually not a substantial difference, because instead of 5.4 knots on battery, if you have only sun, then you have about 2 knots, you said, right? Or something over 2. Yeah, I don't think it's substantially worse.
Remember, so it takes twice the amount of power for every knot.
Yes, yes.
So it gets, the difference between 5 knots and 6 knots. Let's say if 3,000 watts to go 5 knots, to go 6 knots, it's 6,000 watts. To go 7 knots would be 12,000 watts. So it's really pretty crazy how that works. So now you just slow down a tiny bit and you can drastically increase your range. Let's see.
So are you able to actually run it though when you're sailing? And if you do, where do you put the solar panel?
So I have them on my Bimini and my Dodger. I should have a few pictures of that.
It is constantly topping of the battery pretty much.
Yep.
And the peak power is then provided by the battery that is being charged over those
So
5-6 days.
Yeah, so it's a 7.5 kilowatt motor, and it's a 10 kilowatt hour battery pack.
I just want to add something, if Matt doesn't mind, is that I've gone sailing with him and it's amazing. Like literally, like, let's say he wants to move forward and there's no wind. He just goes with the wand. He goes, and you're gone. Turns it on, turns it off. No starting up the diesel anymore. No no fuel smell, clean. Like there's so many advantages, not just in the performance, but also in the cleanliness and instant acceleration. It's pretty amazing. And I'm not a boat guy. I don't know anything, but it felt comfortable. And also you could turn into a wave. If there's a wake coming, you turn in and then power right over it. It's just incredible.
What I like on those low speed vehicles that you don't have to worry about the aerodynamic drag. So you can comfortably put the solar panels on and don't worry too much about that, because that's the reason why we cannot put it on car, right? Because it just kills the aerodynamic shape, and you get what? You still get about the 500 if you are lucky watts, and it's just by far not enough. So with a boat, it just makes lots of sense. And I also think the same would be about tractor or any slow moving equipment. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done the math on cars a gazillion times, and so like I'm building a pickup truck right now. It's an old Mazda 1984. So I'm going to throw a solar panel on the back of it. Why not? It'll do about 10 miles a day. On a sunny day, you get about 10 miles a day. That's probably more than I would ever drive that thing. So, hey,
it's pretty good. I mean, if you drive 10 miles and you bring it to a farmer's market, then you drive back and you let it sit out, that's great.
So another cool thing about electric motors on boats is you can regenerate just like a car. So as you're sailing, you can actually, your motor automatically, without doing anything, if the wind is pushing you faster than you're motoring, it automatically becomes a generator and puts the power back into your battery.
Wow. Okay. So you can actually, even with boat, you can have regen?
Yep.
Wow.
Without any added parts or complexity.
Well, technically, you can have a turbine on the top, right?
You can. Generally, it's best to add as much solar as you can. And once you've maxed out, then you think about wind. Because it's generally not as windy as you would think. And then when it is windy, to make a decent amount of power, that they're so loud, you want to shut them off. Oh, yeah, you can absolutely add a wind turbine. Yep. Yeah, so while you're sailing, you automatically generate power. It starts at about 5 knots. And again, it goes up exponentially. At 5 knots, maybe you'd be lucky to put in 200-300 watts into your bank. 6 knots, maybe you could do 500-600 watts. 7 knots and up, it just gets crazy. It's more power than you could ever use. So like I'd say a catamaran that normally sails at like 8, 9, 10 knots. With the right combination of wind to no wind, you could potentially, it's like a perpetual energy machine. You can keep going forever. So that's kind of the future. A purpose-built, lightweight, fast boat it's going to be pretty amazing. It's crazy that no manufacturer has done that yet. They're starting to make power boats, but nobody has started out with a Tesla with a blank slate and built it from the bottom up. But once they do that with a sailboat, it's going to be pretty amazing. Cool. So the other cool thing is motor sailing. So when typically it's not really as windy as you'd ever like in a sailboat. So let's say there's enough wind to go 3 knots. That's really not much fun. So now with the electric motor, you can just put maybe 300 or 400 watts into it, and now you're doing 5 knots, and you don't even hear it. So there's like almost, and it takes so little power to do it, there's almost no reason not to. So that's where electric motors really shine. Is now I can motor sail for 20 hours, and I'm going to be going, a knot or 2 faster than I would have been without the motor. I'm sorry, what was that?
It was the background sound, maybe. I have a question. So when you go on the ocean, is it for leisure, or do you do fishing or?
Yeah, no, just for fun. Every year. So yeah, typically I'll just bop around the bay. Every year I go down to Seaside Park from Atlantic Highlands. So it's like a 60-mile trip. Yeah, so you can't think of electric propulsion right now as a direct replacement for diesel. If you treat your sailboat like a motorboat and the sails are an afterthought, you don't want to go electric. People sail around the world without a motor at all. A lot of times, ideally,
the wind is perfect
energy. Out of the
energy.
harbor, into the bay, you throw up your sails and then you're off. So if that's the way you sail, then electric propulsion is absolutely something you should look into. It's crazy now that the complexity of a diesel engine is insane, and on the the salt air, and most of the time your diesel engine doesn't work just because you don't use it. It's just sitting there in the boat. So now you're going from thousands of parts to one moving part. The electric motor, it's like taking the starter motor of your diesel, keeping that and getting rid of everything else, and there you go. There's one moving part. And a lot of times everything is so small. You can carry a spare motor, a spare controller. You can carry a spare of everything on the boat, except obviously batteries.
I was wondering about that because, on the other hand, people think about electricity and salt water don't mix very well. Are there extra precautions you have to take to keep it all safe?
Yeah, obviously you want to try to keep it as dry as you can. You can get complete waterproof components. So that's definitely an option. 100% waterproof. You can, turtle your boat and flip it back over and be on your way.
But you don't You don't do, it sounds like you're not right. You don't feel you need to do anything special, it sounds like.
Me, no. If you're in like a small boat that constantly has water coming over it, it'd be more of a concern. But my boat, it's relatively dry inside. You know, the water has never gone into the cabin.
I mean, I want to say, even the diesel boat has to have a battery, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if by design you can prevent contact of salt water with that battery, so why would you have problems of making sure that the
motor
battery and
the diesel engine
the motor, yeah,
won't be ruined by water so much, but you know, if you get the electric motor in, I mean, if the boat capsizes is the main thing I'm thinking, and it really, you know, so you really get salt water everywhere. Is that going to be a big issue?
No, I wouldn't say any more with any other kind of boat. You know, I mean, if you get water in your fuel tank, you're done. If you get water in the exhaust, you're done. You have a regular diesel engine. So no, just
if you get water into air intake, I guess.
Yeah,
it would kill it.
Let me just jump in with the electricity. You know, it's trying to find the path of least resistance. So as long as you're not in the path, you're okay. You know, is that an oversimplification, Matt? You think that's okay to go by?
No, that's legit. And so most boats are 48 volts and under. So that's really safe.
That's important.
Yeah.
We're not talking 300 volts.
No. If an OEM made the boat, they probably would be up there because it's much more efficient. But a DIY thing, you generally want to keep it as low as you can. So at 48 volts, you're totally safe. You cannot get hurt. Well,
got it.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much can.
That makes sense.
I think around 100 volts is when you have to start worrying. I mean, look, it only takes a millivolt to kill you, but it has to get into you. So the voltage is what allows it to jump through your skin.
A milliamp, you meant?
Yeah, it's like a 100th of a milliamp.
Yeah, it's the amps that'll kill you. The voltage is just the pressure that can penetrate. So just like static electricity will shock you, but it doesn't kill you because there's no amps behind it. The amps is the amount, and the voltage is the pressure difference. And watts is volts times amps.
Oh, we know that, yeah.
Okay.
Let's see, what else do we got for you guys?
Show them the dinghy motor, no?
Yeah, I thought I had a picture of the insides. I guess I don't.
Oh.
So I had a Honda motor, outboard motor, which was horrible from day one. So I ripped out the guts out and put an electric motor in it. So, and that works pretty amazing. I don't know why people still use regular outboards on dinghies. They never work. It's the older ones work better because there's, you know, half the fuel goes through it unburnt. With the newer engines, with the emissions and whatever, they're so susceptible to bad fuel that you leave your fuel there for a week or two on the dock and you come back, it gets hot, your engine's done. I see people struggling with their engines all the time. It's funny. I'm always telling people because their boat motors break down with my electric dinghy.
So you use the flexible panels then on your boat, it looks like?
Yeah, this is someone else's boat. This is a catamaran. Right now I'm using the flexible panels. I'm probably going to replace them with, do like a bimini with hard panels. But yeah, that's what I'm using right now. I have some more pictures. So
let's go. Final 2 kills. Bro.
Sorry.
Where am I going? I got lost here.
That's Vespa's super cool. I got a chance to ride it. It's ridiculous. It's like so fast. I rode around the corner. There was kids on skateboards with electric skateboards, so I decided to race them, you know, and they were like, what is that? And it's all rusty, but yet it's solid. So, but it's got this 4,000 watt electric motor, and it's just like ridiculous. It just takes off. It's like way faster than the gas engine probably would have ever been. And
yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, it's instant. It's unbelievable.
So this is where my gas tank used to be. And now it fits the batteries. So the batteries fit exactly in the space the gas tank used to be.
These are lithium iron phosphate or regular lithium ion?
These are lithium iron phosphate.
Mm-hmm.
They are safer than like
they have more charging cycles.
They have more charging cycles.
More stable.
You could direct short them and they will not catch on fire. So not as energy dense, but they definitely have more life cycles and there's much safer. So a lot of people use them on boats. This is the controller. You got your throttle.
I like what he did here. It's all laid out really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Stuck to like a plastic wall. It's a pretty good layout.
Pile of stuff you no longer need. That was the old 18 horsepower diesel.
Now, speaking of the diesel engines for boats, do they have to comply as well as the cars?
No, it's actually a tragedy.
So they don't have the catalytic converter and oxygen sensors and.
Now they have a few things, but there's hardly anything. So the reason you don't really notice it is because the exhaust goes into the water.
Oh, is that so?
If you ever started a boat on land, you would be horrified at what comes out of it. But people don't see it or smell it as much because it's a wet exhaust. So the water gets pumped in, gets mixed with the exhaust, and goes back out. So the stuff that you're directly putting in the water, it's crazy that we allow it.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that.
Yep. And every boat leaks oil. So then it goes to the lowest part of the boat, which is the bilge, and everyone has a bilge pump. So you're constantly dumping oil out into the ocean, every single boat, all day long. If you ever walk around a marina, I mean, all you smell is fuel. All you see is fuel in the water. But that's where we're at today.
Wow.
Just go through some random pictures here. So that's the motor.
Oh, there's your coupler.
And that's all there is to it. So I'm actually in the process of changing this from direct drive to a reduction gear. So the reason being, electric motors are most efficient when they're spinning the fastest. So a motor is rated by its RPM per volt. So the RPM is directly related to the voltage. So let's say it's a 50 RPMs per volt. So for every volt, it's going to go 50 RPMs. So at the end of the day, watts is what gives us power. So, volts times amps equals watts. So you can either use high volts, low amps, or low amps and high volts. And the amps are what causes the heat with all the resistance, and that's where you lose efficiency. So you want to keep your voltage up, but your amperage low. So by putting a reduction gear in, it's going to be a 2-to-1 reduction gear, so I'll spin the motor twice as fast. And then I'm going to put in, I actually have it right here. This was my prop. Oh, I got to stop screen sharing, right?
So spinning the motor faster means that you actually have more voltage and less current?
Correct. Yep. So that makes the motor happy. You want more volts, less current, but a propeller is most efficient when it's spinning the slowest. So I went from a really small prop that I would spin really quick to now I'm going to go to a really big prop that I'm going to spin at about half the speed.
What kind of reduction gear are you using? What's it come from? Some other industry?
No, it's really just a belt, a toothed belt. It's as simple as you can go. So you do lose a little efficiency with the belt and an extra bearing, but you'll gain it back on the motor end because it's going to be more efficient. And the propeller end is going to be more efficient because it's spinning much slower. So you want a big, slow spinning prop.
Is it so? It's offset, right? This is not in line any longer.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, I got you. So it's just basically a large pulley, small pulley.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. See, these are like, this is a good caveat. It's like, yeah, I was saying, yeah, it's three things: electric motor, speed controller, batteries. But you're right. The transmission, how you bolt it up, how you charge it, where do you place it, concerns about electricity. Yeah, there's a lot more to it, obviously. But that's interesting. So you're getting more efficiency by changing the RPM. That's pretty cool. Are you going to change the wire size because of that or no?
Nope. So if anything, I could go with smaller wires because I'm going to be using less amps. I'm going to be using half the amps I used to use. So another thing that's interesting, you can design a motor to be efficient at low RPM, but they get really big and heavy and they get a lot more expensive. Mm-hmm. So there are a few companies out there who make purpose-built marine motors that don't use reduction gears, but like I said, they're big and heavy.
Where should this go? Where should it go?
Are you going to
I want to put
let me
it.
think. So now are you going to change the way your batteries are set up? You're going to go more in series and less in parallel, or are you going to leave it the same?
Nope, that all stays
this was just an efficiency problem.
Yep, that's it. I mean, the boat was great how it was. I didn't need to do anything.
Yeah.
I kind of did it this way in the beginning so I could experiment with it. So I'm going to go from two extremes and, just test as much.
What is your battery voltage for this boat?
It's a 52 volt system, I guess you could call it.
Okay.
What controller you got on this motor?
It's a 4QD. It's really, really, really basic controller. It's a company out of the UK. There's nothing to it. There's no screens. There's no anything. But it works. That's all I need.
Nice. What motor is this?
It's a 7.5 kilowatt. It's basically a Lynch motor. There's a guy, he's in the UK too. He's a crazy guy. He developed this motor. He's been around for a while.
Crazy guys are good.
It's a pan, so it's an axial flux motor.
Oh, right.
So most motors are radial flux. This is axial. So it's why it's wider but narrower. So it basically companies are moving this way because it is a more efficient way to do it.
There used to be this. Go ahead.
Sorry?
There used to be a cartoon on MTV called Eon Flux. It just made me think of it. I don't know why. Go ahead. Carry on.
So the batteries, where do you position them in the boat so that they're as low as possible, but not like where they get wet?
They're in the space that the gas tank used to be.
I saw the picture of them, but it was hard to tell like what part of the boat that was because I don't know where gas tanks.
It's literally where the seats are. Like you sit next to them.
Okay, so it is up. It's up high then. Okay.
It's not on the bottom of the boat.
You get to have lunch with the batteries. You could be your arm.
No, they're completely hidden. You can't see them. So the motor is up here. So it sits right behind the motor.
Okay.
Are these 16 cells?
16 cells, yep. So 3.2 volts each. So you put them all together and it's like a 52 volt nominal.
Good.
Yep, so there's the motor, and this is where the gas tank used to be, and that's where the batteries are. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess compared to the size of the boat, the batteries really are not large at all. They're really quite small, right? Compared to the size of the boat. I mean,
yeah, it's I mean, I could definitely fit more. And if these were, let's say, Tesla batteries, they would be about a third of the size, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, third the size and a little bit less than half the weight.
Wait, how many kilowatts is it per size pack?
It's a 10 kilowatt pack.
Kilowatt hours,
kilowatt
right?
Kilowatt hour, sorry.
Oh yeah. It's a lot smaller than a Tesla, but it's great.
And Tesla's
well,
new
it's
batteries,
primarily sailboats, so you get out of the bay and
yeah,
you can.
It's the size of the same size battery that a lot of the hybrids have. My wife's hybrid Mitsubishi is a 12 kilowatt.
Oh, I'm gonna have to run in a second, but I got a quick question for this group. You think it's worth me? I want to wait for the Cybertruck, but do you think it's worth me leasing the Model Y for 3 years while I wait for the Cybertruck, or do you think it's not a good idea? Just buy it outright.
Oh my goodness.
That's a whopper question.
I personally hate leasing, but I mean, if you're getting rid of it in 3 years, then it's
I know I hate leasing.
That might be the best option. So I don't know.
Okay.
Join the Model Y Facebook group and ask the question there. You'll get good answers. I know people are leasing it, and they've had good reasons for doing it.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Leasing, when I replaced my Chevy Bolt, I looked at leasing a Model 3. And the numbers just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
I
would much rather own it, and then at 3 years or 5 years or whatever, I've got a lot more options.
That's true. Yeah.
And the resale value on the Teslas has been pretty good.
It's amazing. In fact,
hard to predict.
It's one of the best. I don't think it loses value like other cars do.
Well, we have data on it. After 3 years, it loses 10%, which is unheard of.
Right. That's like amazing. No, that doesn't normally happen.
Tom Malagany, he sold his Model 3. And then, well, probably part of the reason why he sold it so easily and well is because of his personal brand. And he bought the new version of Model 3 with longer range and whatnot.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So I just got to make my car famous. Hey, listen, I got to run. This was amazing.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you for having me. You guys are great. You're going to do awesome. You're in good hands with Matt. And anytime you guys got questions, you can email, text, or call, whatever you want to do.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll probably have classes, virtual and in person, coming up in the future.
Mm-hmm. Good.
All
Excellent.
right. See you guys later.
Have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
Okay. See you. Thank you.
So do we have additional questions for Matt?
Yeah, last question. The only thing we haven't talked about yet is the charging. Where do you get your charger from?
So I do have a charger. It's a 30 amp charger. It's basically a regular plug. Just plug it into a wall outlet, but I never use it. So I'm on a mooring. So my boat is basically like it's on anchor.
Oh, so yeah, you mentioned it. Yes.
So a few times I've gone to a marina and plugged in, but it's pretty rare. And then, so as a backup, I also have a little Honda portable generator, which until this year, I was happy to say I never used it. I never even came close to using it. But I was on a trip, 60-mile trip this year, and had people on the boat, and there was no wind. I didn't want to keep them out there forever, so I fired it up. So that enabled me to, motor a lot faster. So that's always an option. So yes, I mean, a hybrid is really the way to go. If you're at all concerned about range, you have electric motor, solar, batteries. And then if you're lucky, you might use your generator once a week, once a month, once a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then eventually you realize, hey, I don't even need it. So hybrid for anyone with any kind of concern is definitely the way to go. So now you're sailing, motor sailing. It's so much more enjoyable. And you're only going to run the generator to charge the battery. And you're going to run it at the most efficient RPM.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be the most, the best way you can possibly use a generator.
Okay.
So that really is the best of both worlds right now. And one day it's going to be, let's say, a fuel cell. So at the end of the day, every boat is going to be electric. It just depends where the power is going to come from. Right now, it's solar, wind. One day it'll be a fuel cell. One day it'll be, who knows, nuclear, whatever.
Yeah. Cool.
Nuclear.
So
nuclear cell.
I'll thank you, Matt, so much for participating and for showing your story. We have your website, right? sunlightconversions.com. So if whoever is interested can contact you and have things converted. So you convert boats, but also other vehicles, right?
Yeah, vehicles, pretty much anything. I do a lot of consulting, solar consulting. Yeah, anything to do with EV, solar, renewable energy.
So I have a question for you, Matt. So my cousin has a son who just got out of like mechanic school. Sorry, my son in the back. Sorry, my son is playing a video game, and that's what you've been hearing throughout this call when I forget to mute. So how do I convince him? How do I convince him to start getting into electric motors and conversions and things like this?
So you said he was, what was he going to school for?
A mechanic, I guess, like auto mechanic.
Just a regular auto mechanic?
Yeah.
Has he been in an EV yet?
I believe so. He does not live close to me, so I have not been able to influence him the way I have many other people. But he lives in a rural part of the country that has not yet been affected by EVs in the way that we have been here.
Yeah, I think just get him in a Tesla. Get him in a Tesla, and I think that changes everything. I think that's a good start. Until then, you think it's a gimmick. You don't really believe it until you feel it. And then you start realizing, okay, it works in a car, it can work on anything. And then you start realizing it's electric power. I can make my own electricity. And then it opens up a whole new world. And it's really pretty cool.
Okay. Well, I just thought I'd mention, and you probably know this, Stan's mentioned it, but with the people here in this group, I know several of us are somewhat knowledgeable about this stuff, and some of us have probably tinkered and some, maybe not converting a car, but engineers, and things like that. So, I mean, I love what you're doing, and I would love to learn more about this sort of thing and everything, but I'm not ready for another hobby yet. I'm still finishing my renewable home. And nice.
Anytime someone wants to go sailing, let me know. If anybody wants to come check out my house, I've always got projects going on in the garage.
It's also on my wish list, so to speak. The problem that I have is I have reached the limit of my skills. At this point, I would need to learn how to weld.
Well, Ron, he's a master
welding,
welder.
and when I do the wire connections, then I realize that actually I might need some class on soldering, even soldering, because I know it from kind of watching someone or videos, but then I find myself when I need to connect two wires, it just takes me forever.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, Ron, he teaches a welding class. I've had people come over for one-on-one stuff, and then we also have the class we do together, which after this COVID thing's over, hopefully we'll have some more.
Anyway, let's move on. And again, thank you very much, Matt. It was wonderful. Thank you for joining us. And you are very welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting. We'll just go through some stuff, chair report and whatever is listed on our agenda. So yeah, how do I get it progressed? Some of the slides I actually showed before, but I wanted to just mention that I'm very grateful for everyone who is supporting the chapter. We have several categories. We have students. If you have kids who are, following you and are excited about electric vehicles, you can just put them into the database and say, hey, these are members, actual members. So those are free. Then young adults, 19 to 25, have discounted membership, $15. Now, for those people who are not feeling like they want to really pay, we have a non-membership. We have a mailing list only. The best way how to put them on mailing list is to forward the information to me. So we want to have the name, email address, and zip code. This is the minimum information. If they can provide phone number, address, or whatever, that's fine. But we don't actually use that information other than email. And zip code is nice to kind of get an idea where people come from. Yeah, it's free and they can unsubscribe at any time. So speaking of being thankful, I want to just shout out those people who after the campaign either joined the chapter or renewed. So the new members are Anthony Asuncion, Pete Bramy, Dennis Bursan, Harsh Trivedi, Anton Sarkuski, Shane Leonard, and Timothy Spielman. And as for renewals, over the year after February or March, those people have renewed, and I'm very grateful that they have renewed. Stephen Breyer, Betsy Wang Iverson, Alexander Brown, Jack Phillips, Mike Baskin, Caleb Cohen, Kathleen Frenchu, myself, well, okay, skip that. Ken Jones, William Keller, Eric Krovchak, John Linderman, Jason Mancini, and Walter O'Brien. Now I'd like to switch gears and remind everyone that tomorrow, December 3rd at 9 a.m., there is a RideWise event, which is co-hosted with ChargeEVC and Pam Frank, CEO of ChargeEVC, and it's an interactive virtual event. I mentioned this during the previous meeting. There will be breakout rooms, collaboration, education, and community. You can register. Let me actually share this link to this presentation. Copy link. And I'll go here. Chat. So that you can actually open it and hit the link, because the link doesn't work through Zoom. Yeah, it is in the morning. So if you have work, I'm sorry, but I didn't make a decision about this timing. So that's tomorrow. I also want to mention that next week on December 8th will be 2020 Transportation Electrification Review by Forth. This year was very unprecedented. I'll go through that again, but Jeff Allen, he's the executive director of Forth, so he's going to recap it. So again, here is the registration link. This one, West Monroe, this is a webinar that happened in the past, but I found it very useful. And if you want to be in the loop in what's going on, you can also sign up by visiting their website for free webinars. In this slide, I'm showing the webinar that was called Utility EV Customer Engagement. This is very useful for municipalities who want to get their fleet up and running. Here is also linked to the EV Fleet Total Cost of Ownership tool, and you can watch recording of this webinar. Also, Nick Dazzo, one of the members of our group, he brought to my attention this website, which is part of the US Department of Energy. It's called Advanced Grid Research. And they are focusing on the grid, on electricity, which is a key component of what we need for electric vehicles. There will be interesting virtual session. They have actually 3 for each part of the United States. So this one is for Eastern region. It's on Thursday, December 10th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So, and you can click to register if you're interested. Now, I would like to talk about something fun. I mean, not that it was not fun so far, but I was inspired by the Tesla Delaware Valley Tesla Owners Club. They have lots of events, and one of them is related to the holidays now. They have a drive-through light show. If you go to the website, they have actually one on December 5th and then another one on December 12th. Both are Saturdays. This one is in Pennsylvania, which is a little bit south of Trenton. The one on December 12th is in New Jersey, but it's south from Philadelphia. So it's quite far from most of us. And I would like to gauge opinion on whether we should do an event like that. I would love. I had a conversation with Jason Kaplan, and he mentioned that there is actually something closer to us in PNC Bank Arts Center in Holmdel.
Yeah, we were going to do that one anyway this year, so we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, so it's on Garden State Parkway exit. $25 is if you buy the ticket ahead of a time, $30 at the gate. So I wanted to, well, go ahead, unmute yourself and tell me what you think. And then I have a poll. We can vote on which date we want.
So I'm guessing this is something that we'd want to kind of advertise a little bit and see if we can talk some other electric car
I mean,
people in the area to try to come and
we
join
can
us.
as well join the Tesla Club, but I would make it like available. Okay, guys, go ahead. But I would not go. It's just too far. It's not that because it's Tesla. It's because it's too far.
Right.
So maybe we can even have the same date as they have, because most people who are not willing to go, it's not the date, it's just the venue. And by the way, the venue is actually more expensive. It's $35 in Pennsylvania. And I don't even know how much is it in the Southern Jersey. It's probably not going to be more expensive, but anyway. So let me launch the poll, and I would like to find out what do you think? So drive-through launch. So you can pick multiple options. And I selected Saturdays and Sundays, but if you prefer Friday, go ahead and select Friday. And think about not only whether you are interested, but what would be a good date in general, so that when we advertise, we get at least 2 people. Otherwise, it's solo. It's ideal as a social distancing event because you sit in your car. Obviously, I don't think you have to have a face mask even. you just, you know, I actually, what I wanted to do, I wanted to click one of those links and to show you the pictures of how it looks like.
Do I keep scanning you?
You startle me. Startle me.
Okay, so I have some responses.
Well, it's a little far for me to drive, so I won't be.
So if you were here, which date would you like? I mean, take it as a, you know, opportunity to express yourself. Okay, I'm going to end the poll in 3, 2, 1 now. And I'll share the results. Do you see the results?
Yes.
Okay, so the fifth appears to be maybe too fast, but then 12, 13, 19. So, and apparently Friday could be, I actually wanted to have another option, but that would be confusing. I mean, can we do it during the weekdays? I would be reluctant, but then.
Yeah, not for me. That would not work.
Yeah, okay.
School's in, that's a little risky.
Ken, what do you prefer? I mean, would you actually, no, it's far for you. No, I don't think.
I probably would not do it.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's very far for you.
I'd like to see if there's one up here though, so you give me an idea to look around.
Or if you have an idea to, if you find out something in North Jersey, hey, by any means, let us know. Rather soon than late, so that we can put something together.
Sure, yep.
So I'm going to, maybe what we can do, we can set up events on Facebook for all three. And then if the events, we'll select one or two based on the sign up. And Steve just sent something into the chat. New Orleans City Park. Okay, so that's in New Orleans. If I hit the link, can you see the screen? Probably not. Can you?
Yes.
Cool.
I mean, y'all can all drive down here.
Sure.
That's a road trip.
Hey, Stan, just pick one date. Well,
they've got like 1 million lights in City Park set up. It's really nice. They've been doing this for about 30 years, and it gets better every year.
Neat.
And if Matt wants to bring his sailboat down here, we can push it from one end to Lake Pontchartrain. I've got that a time or two.
I want to show you this one. So, I mean, you see the website?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So that's how it looks like. Actually, no, it doesn't show much. Maybe if I just Google up.
Okay, I will kill this thing.
Light show drive through. This is how is it spelled? And hit on images. Yeah, so that's pretty much how would be my perception of how it should look like. But then I don't want to overpromise. Looks cool, doesn't it?
If it's anything like the others I've been to, what you're seeing here in the pictures is pretty accurate. It's really
is it? Wow.
They're really nice looking. The folks put a lot of effort into them.
And I think it's perfect event for COVID, right?
Oh yeah, if you stay in your car. You typically have timed, the ones around here, you have timed tickets. So it's not like you're sitting in a traffic jam. Like, you can have 20 cars like staggered like a minute apart and be a group, but you're all like sitting there in line like you're waiting to get into Giant Stadium or something.
How long people typically stay in the lit path? Is it like a long or is it very short?
I don't know about the ones you're looking at in particular. The ones down here, it takes about 35 minutes, 45 minutes to go through them.
Wow.
And you stop periodically. They've got moving displays. They've got animation. They have, well, I don't know about this year. In years past, they've had actors doing things. So you can spend quite a bit of time at it. This year, they're trying to do time displays and move people through without getting big traffic jams or anything. Keep the traffic moving.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, I closed the window, but it was 12, 13, and 19 that was working well.
Yeah, Stan, this is David. So
yes.
I go to the PNC show almost every year.
You do?
Yeah, it's very close to me, so I can go very easily. My only concern would be like the weekend before Christmas might be the peak.
19?
Yeah, it might be very crowded.
That's a fair comment. Yeah.
So just
and also,
yeah, and I don't know if you considered even doing it after Christmas. Like I think Christmas is a Friday, so even that Saturday or Sunday, the 26th, 27th, those might be options as well.
I didn't think of that. I am about to actually make 2 dates, and whoever wants to come, they come. I don't have to attend both. It would be nice to meet beforehand, just like Tesla Club has it, to grab a pizza or something so that people are not hungry. It would be still socially distanced, but at least you would get the sense of, commonality. Like, we all grab pizza, take it into the car, we eat it, and then we just drive through. I think it would be fantastic. And also, the added bonus is that when you have those vehicles lined up, maybe not necessarily the first vehicle, but the next vehicles, they will definitely benefit from not having the fumes of the vehicle in front of them, right? So inherent benefit of electric vehicle. So yes.
Just so you know, in most years they do have a place where you can park, get out, and get food. I don't know if they're having that this year with COVID.
We would have to find a place nearby where we can buy pizza and then just continue travel as a group to the venue. Does it make sense?
Yeah, except that it's right off the highway, so there's not a lot right there. Yeah.
So you are in that area. What would you suggest if we had that pizza?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Pizza is universal. I don't want to suggest kebab.
Yeah, I mean it's really just an exit off the highway. It's not directly attached to an area.
So would it make sense to meet a different exit, or
you could meet at the Cheesequake rest area. There are other exits.
Is the only access to the venue through the highway?
Pretty much. There is a back way entrance that will bring you to the Bell Works facility, which isn't very far. So that would be a possibility. But they have very limited hours.
I'm trying to do some zoom up here. And How does it look like? So if we want to get pizza, where do we go? Here is Giuseppe Pizza Restaurant. What is that? Do you know that place?
Not that familiar with it.
Is it accessible?
No, you actually can't get off the highway there. If you go across under the highway there, again, just down to the south there, Bell Works is just to your
high
east.
School. Well, from here.
Yeah, if you go back down.
Route 4, right?
Yeah, if you go
then
down
you,
to Crawford,
then you can make it. Yeah, I think it's doable.
You see Homedale High School there. If you go just to the east, Bell Works is down there, which has food, depending on the time.
So we would go here, right?
Yep.
Oh, you mean east? There is another place? Bloops?
Yeah, no, right. There's Bell Works right there.
Bell Works? I see. And you say that they have pizza?
They do. Just depends what time.
Huh. It's a business center.
Yeah. Well, they call it the Metro Burb. It has food, and you can have weddings there. And, I think I also mentioned that that's where they have a drive-in movie theater as well, which is now officially closed for the season. But
oh, I didn't know.
Yep. Yeah, and actually, when they reopen that in the spring, I think that would be a great potential opportunity for us to have a meetup.
Right. So it would be this way: Roberts Road, Crawford's Corner, and then here.
Yep.
We can do that. I guess this is convenient for you because you're coming from east, or?
Yeah, just another exit down, but it doesn't matter for me. Whatever works for everyone else. I mean, I wouldn't mind meeting at, again, the Cheesequake Rest area, which is a few miles to the north.
Okay, let me figure something, and let's go to the next. I'm going to suggest maybe Saturday the 12th, and then plus 14 would be 26. How about 27 Sunday? Right? It should be less crowded, you suggest, that 27th? If you unmute yourself.
Yeah, I would think, again, this year is a little bit different. So I think people are going to be looking for things to do. So it might be pretty busy throughout, but you might want to avoid the busiest of days where you could get stuck in a traffic jam for, an hour or more.
Okay.
I'll take 1 or 2 cars to go extra slow through the lights, and you can be there for quite some time.
Now, discounts. I mentioned that last time that IRA Gross got a 10% discount of all paint, protection, and detailing services at Eurotech Motorsports in Mahwah. It's Northern Jersey. This is the contact information. And also the new stuff is Andy Samsu got discount for Open EVSE, $25. If you get the 48 amps EVSE, this is the link. So again, it's available here. Now I would like to kind of do the review of the year. and I think it was pretty successful. It was the first full year of Central Jersey Electric Auto Association. And we were really, really hit hard by pandemic. And I stated the words 3 times. But even despite that pandemic, we were still able to accomplish lots of things. Not only that, we maintained and grew our membership base, as well as number of people who are only on mailing list. But we managed to switch our in-person meetings to virtual Zoom meetings. And we got the EV shows by dealers earlier in the first half of the year. We got invited speakers almost always. The National Drive Electric Week, we did participate given the limitations of pandemic, but we had 2 in-person events. One picture here in West Windsor. On the picture is Councilwoman. You are logged in actually. Mandel, Susan Mandel here, and some other council people. So it was October 3rd. We've transferred flag, we distributed T-shirts. This down picture, this is Duke Farms webinar when I was talking about EV 101, also along with Kathleen Lewis from BPU. So I think it was quite successful. We created new partnerships. In January, our first partnership was Charge EVC, so we are connected, but also Environment NJ, Sustainable Jersey, Divest NJ, many municipalities. Some of our members are actually on Green Team or on Environmental Commission. So we have lots of connections, and obviously Tom Malagany, he's on our side. He's our connection to Plug-in America as well as to Inside EVs because he's a reporter there. So yeah, and social media reach, we have Meetup, we have Facebook page, and we have our MailChimp mailer. So that's what it is. And so what are our goals for 2021? And I would like to open a question about what do you think is our vision? Where do we want to go?
Well, I mean, when the pandemic's over.
Can you put the microphone closer?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
much
okay,
better.
Sorry. So when the pandemic's over, I think we go back to doing what we do best, which is showing our cars and talking to people at the grassroots level. Mm-hmm. That may not be until the end of the spring before we really start to get any traction at those kind of events.
What do you think? Yes.
Yeah, in the meantime, we can keep, having great presentations, and we can continue to try to grow this group virtually.
So what do you think our interaction with the groups that have impact on the legislative branch, like Charge EVC? Or how do we interact with municipalities? Do we help them other than showing our vehicles? Sometimes people are asking me, can you give me a model ordinance to mandate that all new buildings are EV ready, right? Just like you can tell that our new buildings should be solar ready. How do you address the inherent inequality that people who live in rental homes, they don't always have access to charging overnight, which we take for granted. The same for people who live in cities, in apartments. How do they charge their vehicles? Because to charge electric vehicle at the rapid charger is on routine basis is not an option. It's always more expensive, and it's always takes longer time than the gas. So this is where we may have a hard time to get the last third of owners to adopt or population to adopt electric vehicle. So I think that this is something that we can also offer some insight, some opinion, and help to shape the policy, because we talk to those people. We know what are their problems. We know why when they ask questions and they say, hey, you know, I cannot because this and that. Sometimes these are excuses, but sometimes it's really, it boils down to the actual reasons why they don't buy into electric, even if the vehicles are cheaper. So,
hey, Stan, do you think there's a way that we could you know, reach those people better than maybe what we have been doing? For example, having, you know, EV car shows in more urban areas.
That's a good idea.
You know, I'm, you know, we know that, you know, the New Jersey Clean Power Plan, you know, has aims to, you know, have a certain percentage of apartments with charging stations available, or at least be, you know, built so that, you know, they would make it easy to do that. But, you know, we can't really influence that very well. At least I don't have any connections in the, you know, in that part of the world. But, you know, with, you know, like Neil said, we can show our cars and we can get people into them and get them enthusiastic. And then, you know, the apartment owners themselves, I think, are the ones that have to drive it. They've got to, you know, petition or, you know, get out and yell and and, you know, and demand that the landlords or the developers install these things. So, you know, maybe that's how we can influence.
So rather than reaching out directly, we would advise the potential owners to make the step and request charging or something to support the idea of electrification in their area. Is this what?
Yeah, I mean, just at the very minimum, just you know, make sure these folks have had the opportunity to see a car show. You know, I mean, I know somebody in Jersey City. Oh gosh, what's her name right now? I'm blanking on it. But she just recently bought an electric car, and she's very involved in the town council there.
The Green Spot company.
No, I can let you know. But you know, I'm just thinking I could reach out to her and, you know, and tell her, you know, ask her if she thought that would be a good idea, and she could help us organize a show in Jersey City where, you know, most of the people are apartment owners.
Yeah, this is the closest before we cross the Hudson.
Yeah, but it could be anywhere. It could be in, you know, West Orange, or you know, it could be down in I don't know, New Brunswick.
Well, yeah,
right?
Yeah. New Brunswick is just next to me, and it is city. Yeah. There are lots of actually disadvantaged communities other than, you know, directly people being in apartments.
Yeah. So, I mean, it'd be better, you know, maybe 3 or 4 years from now, when there are more EVs that are in a more affordable price range for people who own apartments, you know, but it's all going to take time. So even if these people can't buy a car next year, you know, we can plant the seed.
Correct. Good. Do we have other opinions, other ideas? Steve, you always have great ideas. Are you still with us?
I think he might have dropped off, but yeah, I mean, I love the events. I've only been to one, but I'm looking forward to more. I would even hope, actually, you know, we could I don't know what we normally do over the winter. I know obviously it's tougher to be out there. But...
Well, yeah. How about having more social meetings? So without requiring that we show vehicles to someone else, like the Tesla Club, they have lots of events when they hang out. They call it a coffee, you know, or something.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, again, with COVID, I think the hanging out part starts to get a little tough. I guess, you know, in the future.
I was just looking into their past events list, and you know, it's just there. You know, I don't know how they execute it.
Right, but what we did in East Brunswick, I would hope we could do that. You know, pretty much on a monthly basis. You know, I don't know when you start. Do you start March or April? And you know, kind of doing what the dealerships aren't doing, right? Which is showing you these electric vehicles and giving you the information. I mean, all the other stuff is good too. The advocacy and working with, you know, from a policy perspective is all needed. There are other groups that are focused on that. That stuff is great too. It's a little, you have to be very organized and persistent in your approaches around that. So for me personally, I just like communicating because most people don't know much about electric vehicles. They know what Tesla is, and they think Tesla is, you know, equals electric vehicle. And so personally, I'm always trying to educate everybody on all the non-Tesla stuff.
Agreed, yeah.
Oh yeah, Dave, I absolutely agree. I mean, who can afford an $89,000 electric car?
well, even a $45,000 car. You know, in my town, sure, every other car is worth more than that. But for a lot of
and you cannot even buy used cheap Tesla because they don't depreciate to the point of, you know, 25 or something.
But
or
what
20.
many you not even know is right now you can basically get a Nissan Leaf for free in the state of New Jersey.
Yeah,
you can lease a Nissan Leaf for free. And I'm not even, that's not a gimmick, it's a joke, it's a reality. And people just don't know that.
Well, I'm in Spokane and the electricity is so cheap here that I can charge my Leaf for 48 cents.
That's great.
And I mean, I have a VW too, and a Beetle that I built, but you can't charge it for 48 cents. It needs upgraded pretty bad.
Yeah. So again, sorry, you know, monthly events, but some of them just like we did in East Brunswick, or things like, you know, we've been mentioning like the lights or like a movie night, drive-in movie night.
Yeah.
Only electric vehicles allowed. You have to be able to plug in. You can't get in.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think that you could actually help to arrange for that since it's in your area?
Yeah, absolutely. At Bell Works,
yeah.
I already have connections there. I used to work in the building there. So I know a lot of folks there. And
it would be fantastic. And it doesn't have to be a movie that is dedicated to electric vehicles. Okay, it could be comedy, you know, something that everybody wants to watch.
Right.
I love comedies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I think they'll be back. I suspect they'll be doing that again come springtime.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So we are getting to the end of our meeting, so I will watch the recording to make notes. But just to mention, last month I said that the Tesla Club invited us that we can join them in these meetings, but then shortly after that, because of COVID, numbers went up, so they dropped it. We do not have any upcoming meetings, so I didn't even check that spreadsheet. But we'll see. The earliest that we will have in-person event would be, you know, without COVID, it would be March. Okay. With COVID, I hope that with COVID, I hope that in April 21, we will be in a different position, that we will have most people vaccinated, or, you know, but it depends on on something that we cannot control. So our next meeting will be in January 6th. Stay tuned. I have no idea who will be the speaker, maybe none. If you have some ideas, please let me know. Send me an email. And I wish everyone happy holidays, safe holidays, stay safe, stay at home. Do we have anything else? Anyone else wants to say something?
No, that's better. Took me a while to figure out how to get on here.
We have never met you before. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, Duane?
I'm retired. I worked for the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot about locomotives and electricity and stuff, I guess. That's what got me into electric vehicles.
Which town are you located in?
Spokane, Washington. We actually have a free charging program here.
Washington State?
Yeah, Washington State.
Wow.
Yeah, we have a free charging program here because electricity is so cheap. The power company just gives it away.
Wow. We don't have that here.
Yeah, I know. My friend's in LA. He tells me the horror stories.
I'm just contemplating to switch to time of use, which is an interesting combination if you have solar and net metering, right? And time of use. I just learned that our utility provider, PSENG, the way how it works is that the net metering has two values now. One is for the peak and one is for off-peak, and they don't cross-communicate. So whatever energy I make in the peak, I can use only in peak, and whatever off-peak. Now, off-peak means, well, I was about to say no energy, but off-peak means all weekend. So the sun is shining only during the day. So during the weekdays, there is no off-peak production. Only production is on peak. And during the weekend, 2 days is on peak. But since my situation personal has changed, I have to charge both of my cars at home. My solar system is not up to the task, so I have to buy the electricity. So it's better to go with the time of use and charge them at night. But then the monthly fee is also higher. From $5, it goes up to $14, which makes $108 per year added cost just on the flat fee. But then there is a different rate. So for the flat rate, it's 17 cents, about 17 cents per kilowatt hour, which is combination of distribution charge and the supply. When time of use, during the peak, it's about 25 cents per kilowatt hour, and off peak is between 7 and 8 kilowatt hours. So 7, 8, you know, that's substantially cheaper, and that's what makes also me to be in. The other part in my home is that I have a hybrid heating system. I have a heat pump and natural gas. So there is lots of playing around how to change which one will go on and which one will go on in different conditions. So yeah, I can definitely benefit from time of use and at the same time have solar.
Oh, I know a lot of people that are doing that. Here, some people have solar, but they're with the cheap electricity. There's really no value in it, and they won't buy back because they'd buy back at such a low rate that it wouldn't be worth them.
We have net metering, which makes a big difference, which means that we get it back, all the export during the day, we get it 1-to-1 at night. There is no delivery charge associated with that.
Oh, I see. I see. Yeah, that's not so bad at all.
Yeah, and Stan, I'm doing the night and peak and off peak rate with Jersey Central Power and Light. It's a little bit different from from what it sounds like you're doing, but it's hard for me to tell whether it's working out well or not. And of course, now with the pandemic, I'm not driving much, but but yeah, certainly if you're charging a lot, I think it can be a plus, although that flat rate seems to be a little bit of a hindrance.
Yeah, I think that's what my friend in LA is doing too. I think he charges at night more because he's had brownout conditions and had problems with his car being, I don't know what happens to it. He said something happens to it and he has a hard time getting it to start charging again afterwards. I don't know, something to do with some fusible link in the next to the where you plug the charging into it. It's been damaging it. So
yeah, so Stan, if you want to talk more, just let me know, because I haven't quite figured it out myself, but I also have solar, so I've been going through the same sort of calculations.
Cool. We'll talk more. I'm going to stop recording. And